Thank you for staying with Citizen Extra. My name is Lillian Muli. With us in studio this morning is Bomet Governor Isaac Ruto, and also with us is Njogu Mbarua, who is the Member of Parliament, Gishugu. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. I'll start with you, Governor Ruto. Speaking about NASA politics, after unveiling your presidential candidate, the Pentagon seems to have gone quiet. What is your next course of action?
No, we are not quiet. We've been consulting. We are planning. For example, this weekend we are having a mega rally in Nakuru Afar Stadium to continue to popularize the issues that we stand for as the National Super Alliance.
Right, and you are, of course, one of the 5 NASA principals. Today, party submit names of successful nominees. Are you confident that your party has come up with the right crop of leaders that will take this country in the right direction, or that indeed will give you better stakes in the August polls?
Yes, certainly. We have gone through our nomination process, and we believe the voters have already given us the candidates they would prefer to carry the flag moving forward. We are also prepared as a party to give the right policies to alleviate the poverty and improve the economy, particularly to grow the Kenyan economy in a more sustainable manner, and growing it in with a wide base all the way to the rural Kenya.
Looking at Chama Cha Mashinani, your projections in terms of performance, how many MPs do you expect your party to have in Bunge, and indeed also in the Senate, your projections?
Well, you see, we cannot quite give definitive figures, but we've given our members of parliament and our members of various county assemblies, and we simply expect good performance. We don't want to appear to be condescending on the voter. The voter is to be persuaded to give us the vote.
To you, Mheshimiwa Mbarua, you lost in the nominations. What is your next course of action ahead of the August election?
Yes, thank you very much. It's true, I lost the nomination under whatever circumstances, and being a founder member of the Jubilee Party, I've decided to support the presidential candidate for the party, who is President Uhuru Kenyatta. The other thing is that to make Jubilee a stronger party in the future, we need to bring people together. Those people are divided by the nominations. We can work as a team towards the August 8 general election to ensure that we win with a big majority over the NASA alliance.
For persons like you who lost in the nominations, perhaps, of course, you were not too happy with the outcome of that. Your feeling about people who feel that they were perhaps rigged out of the nominations, the ones that chose to go independent?
First and foremost, in every activity, in every election, there must be sacrifices, and sometimes the party, and all the time actually, the party and the country are bigger than individual. So the fact that the nominations in all the major political parties were conducted the way they were conducted does not mean that we should start by fighting our political parties. We should start and continue in correcting the wrongs so we can get sustainable parties and have a future. The other issue is that those people who may have lost or who have lost and chosen to go to go as independent members is their right, and they should be given a chance to fight it out, as long as they don't cause division within respective political parties.
And before I go back to the governor, your performance in Parliament, was it up to par? And indeed, just looking at the performance of this Parliament that's coming to the end of its term, what is your assessment?
I think the role of a member of Parliament, there are 3 roles actually. One of them is oversight, registration, and representation. And for you to assess the performance of a member of Parliament, it must be a combination of 3 factors. We represent our people at the grassroots levels, represent them in Parliament through lawmaking, and also oversight in the national government. In terms of my performance in oversight, and also educating people on the importance of good governance, I think I performed well above average. I'm confident that in the future, we outside Parliament are going to continue playing an important role in this government and this country.
Governor Ruto, the push and pull between the Senate and the National Assembly, and indeed, the contentious issues arising over the division of revenue bill, your assessment of this Bunge?
Yes, I do not believe that this particular Parliament that is the 11th Parliament, have performed pretty well. They have, for example, up to now, not been able to deliver a proper budget and a proper allocation of revenue to the counties. Yet these counties are expected to start providing services from 1st of July. As of now, they have no budget. They cannot make a budget. And the disagreement is whether they should be given just an extra 29 billion, considering that the National Assembly itself has given themselves 36 billion. And yet 36 billion for services they do not provide. We are not even aware of those services beyond their actual roles, which Mheshimiwa has indicated, the 3 roles. I don't know what else they are supposed to do with 36 billion, and they are refusing 29 billion to be distributed across the Republic to provide services to ordinary Kenyans. We have got a serious question mark about the performance, not just of this Parliament, but generally of the Jubilee leadership, because I believe if Jubilee were to agree with the Senate, this problem would end. But as long as they are refusing, Parliament will continue to have a stalemate.
And you know, we're approaching the polls only, I think, less than 90 days to go now. Just looking at the shake-up that this election, actually exactly 29 days to go, right, and what this election, the coming election, will do to the 11th Parliament in terms of, you say you're not happy with its performance, and we know that there's an increasing number, actually 4,000 independents that are actually going to be going head-to-head with current incumbents. Are we likely to see changes, do you think?
I'm not particularly endeared to the idea of too many independent candidates in Parliament, because Parliament must function through political parties. That is really the culture. And if we continue to have too many, or if we were to have too many independent candidates, it might become very difficult to pass legislation in Parliament. You cannot predict the direction that things will happen, and it may not even be easy to assure the programs of the government that will be elected by Kenyans, because any government that will be elected by Kenyans will have to provide leadership for the next 5 years, and they should be allowed to push the agenda forward. And independent candidates will be very difficult to even persuade, because you don't know where to meet them. Because if unless they meet again and say it is a party of independent candidates, then maybe they should talk to Harold Mwau to revive PIC, or send Harold Mwau to Parliament to lead them, because he had such a party. But as of now, seriously speaking, this will be a new scenario for this country. If we were to have 30, even 20, would still be a very serious challenge to the legislature. Even I do not know how they will join membership into committees, because I don't know, Parliament is structured through political parties.
Mheshimiwa Mbarua, do you share the same sentiments as regards independence? Are they likely to actually threaten the re-election of incumbents?
I don't think so. And we also have to appreciate that this is the first general election after the new constitution that's having with the devolved units, and also with 2 houses, the House of National Assembly and the House of the Senate. We also have to take cognizance of the fact that this election, you have gone to this election with the new IEBC, which was actually a negotiating position between the then CORD and Jubilee. And it is after that negotiation that we had strict nomination rules and anti-party party hopping, and given the fact that parties don't have the capacity at the moment, all parties in Kenya don't have adequate capacity to conduct completely free and fair election. What we are seeing people going to independent parties is that they are trying to ventilate and trying to get a position for themselves if they felt aggrieved the nomination and fight for their own space. As in the issue of the House, the National Assembly, independent members can join parliamentary committees, because it just, when you go to the House, there will be 2 major coalitions. One is going to be NASA, the other is going to be Jubilee, and the one as an independent member is free to choose to align with either of them. If you align with Jubilee, you'll be able to get your position given the slot given to Jubilee. If you align to NASA, you'll be able to get a slot in the committees. Nobody will be left out outside the committee. On the issue of the budget, I get what Governor Isaac is saying. He's talking about 29 billion going to counties and then 6 billion for the parliament. What the difference between these two figures is that the 29 billion sharing is talking about is an extra, additional from what was allocated to them, and that the 6 billion shares given in the National Assembly is the whole amount to run that institution, which is one arm of government. So there's really nothing out of order.
Governor Ruto, talking about devolution and NASA's pledge or promises to the electorate of county revenue allocations, how feasible this is?
It isn't this very, very feasible, and this is what we've been pushing for the last 4 years. I did that as chairman of Council of Governors, and I've been doing that as a governor and as a leader of Chama cha Mashinani. Now, as one of the principals of NASA, we are saying we are going to allocate 45%. This is not money out of the blues. This is money that is already in the budget. But you see, the Constitution expected that once devolution is implemented, resources would follow functions. Here is a situation where functions were devolved, but the resources did not follow those functions. For instance, in roads, one of the courts decided that class C, D, E, and F of the roads are actually devolved functions, because that is in line with the Constitution, which says there are only two types of roads: national trunk road and the county roads. But the Jubilee government simply said, okay, fine, you can do the roads, but we are not giving the extra cash. They retain the money, but purportedly send the functions. Take, for example, medical care. In medical care, about 90% of the facilities are actually at the counties. But national government continues to retain 70% of the budget to handle only National Referral Hospital, which are about 2 or 1, and the mental hospital and the spinal injury. Now, the serious question is, what is all this money that is remaining at the national government to do what is already devolved? What is that money doing? Take, for example, even street lighting. It's supposed to be a county function, but they continue to retain money for street lighting and ask counties only to pay the electricity bills. They have continued, for instance, recently, just the other day, the American government suspended continued aid to the Ministry of Health because they could not account for about over 2 billion shillings from the US aid. What business do they have handling that cash? Now they cannot provide, they cannot even show us what they use the money for. There is a lot of money in the national budget which belongs to devolved functions, right, but the national government continues to hold it.
When you talk about the 45% that should be allocated to counties, is this 45% of the last audited budget, or is it 45% of the current budget?
It is 45% of the last revenue, the latest revenues that is certified by the Auditor General, that is arriving at the Exchequer. That is, for instance, what was collected in the last financial year, not this year. And we are not also talking about the budget. We are not saying 45% of the of the 2.3 trillion Kenyan shillings or whatever should go to the counties. We are talking about 45% of actual revenues collected in the previous financial year and certified by the Auditor General. The presumption here is that the Auditor General finishes his job by 30th of December of that year. The trouble has been that Parliament does not actually approve that. They wait for about 4 years, then they approve it, and when they approve, then they use that as a calculation. So you'll hear Jubilee telling you they have given us 35% or 30%. But 30% of 4 years ago is not 30% of the last financial year. But when you check the actual budget which they have presented even now, if you are to look at the functions that are actually assigned to the counties, they consume 45% of the last revenues.
On the division of revenue bill, with only 29 days to the election, 89 days to the election, I beg your pardon, how should Parliament handle this?
The National Assembly should simply have agreed with the Senate, because there was nothing outrageous in what the Senate was saying. The money is already available. It is only to be properly allocated. And we do not understand why the National Assembly feels that money shouldn't go to the counties. We do not understand why the Jubilee government is reluctant to release the money to the counties.
And we want to shift gears now and move away from that conversation to the seeming fallout within the Wiper party. We will be joined very shortly in studio by Peter Mathuki, who is Wavinya Ndeti's running mate, as we know of now. Before that, we'll be listening to excerpts from Kalonzo Musyoka, Kalonzo Musyoka's response to Machakos Senator Johnston Muthama over the grievances he raised as regards the party and how the party leader was handling issues within the party and indeed the nominations. Governor Ruto, before we get into that conversation, I want to talk about this standoff between Johnston Muthama and Kalonzo Musyoka and how that has affected party politics and indeed the coalition's politics in within. What are you saying in closed quarters?
Personally, I have no detailed information as to what informed Muthama's decision. What I only know is what is in the public knowledge. But what I also recognize from what Muthama said is that he's continuing to campaign for NASA and the NASA presidential candidate. So I believe probably that has a lot to do with the goings on in Machakos itself. We saw the elections being repeated, and twice Madam Wavinya Ndeti emerged as the victor. And I would probably persuade my brother to generally agree with that and proceed. I know he had believed very strongly that it was supposed to be Kiala. But the electorate are the ones that make decisions, and therefore they made the decisions twice in about 4 days and said it's Wavinya Ndeti. So I suggest probably we need to talk together as brothers and ensure that there is no serious disagreements on these issues.
But, you know, when Johnston Muthama says that he will continue to campaign for Raila Odinga, but that he has disassociated himself from Kalonzo Musyoka, what does that essentially mean? The two are one, essentially.
Yes, in other words, it means really there is no issue. He simply probably may not want to run for Senate, but we still believe that he is still a good candidate for that particular position. And we respect Muthama. Muthama has been a very forthright personality in the fight for justice. And I think I would simply leave it at that and hope that when brothers disagree, there is a way of agreeing again. Because I believe Kalonzo Musyoka made the right statements and is willing to accommodate any dissent. And I don't see any serious issue escalating beyond that.
And let's listen in to what's been happening within the Wiper party.
Wavinya, she's on record with her CDF performance, which is not pleasing at all. So if you look at now the way she is being nominated, she knows that she is cheating actually, and there is a video showing how she was marking her own ballot papers. And then she accents to the governor's position through cheating. How can she be trusted with public funds that she's supposed to supervise?
Mathuki, as you can see there, Johnston Muthama clearly has an issue with how Wavinya Ndeti was nominated. Does he have valid concerns?
Thank you very much, Lillian, and of course those who are watching. I want to start by saying that whatsoever there are no differences or fallouts within Wiper. Wiper is an institution, is a national party, and we know the party leader of Wiper Democratic Movement. And therefore, if one member, for example, feels dissatisfied on an issue, it doesn't mean that there's a fallout in Wiper. And therefore, I think it is within Muthama's democratic right to hear his views. And you know, different members air differences differently. There are those who would want to take public podiums to hear differences, and there are those who would want to have their differences sorted out internally. And therefore, I don't want to really say that in WIPA. WIPA is a system, is an institution, it has mechanisms of even sorting out differences whenever they occur. So it's concerns that Honorable Senator Muthama is raising related to nominations. You remember, initially WIPA had 3 candidates. There was actually Honorable Kiala was then, of course, the current sitting Deputy Governor. Myself, in fact, of course, being a member of the East African Legislative Assembly, then I said I put in my papers as a governor candidate, and of course Honorable Wavinya came on board. But then at some point we were told to sit down and come up with one candidate, and Honorable Wavinya and myself then agreed. We sit down and we form one ticket, and that's how it came about. And Honorable Kiala was of course told to come and see how we could work. But then he said he was not interested in any talks himself, and he was only looking to the seat. And therefore the only fair way then was to go for a nomination.
These issues, we do know that Muthama has said that the party is no longer democratic. Is this a personal attack? Do these issues begin with the nominations? Are there deep-seated issues? Because we do know that the previous nominations, prior to them being recalled, had also been subjected to scrutiny by the Maendeleo Chap party leader as well.
In fact, that was even ridiculous for a leader of another party to talk about parties of another party that he left, and it was interesting for the leader of Chap to talk about WIPA. It could be none of his business. But what most important thing is that what Senator Muthama is saying is that in fact we were subjected to a nomination process twice, and the public spoke, the people of Machakos spoke loudly. Therefore, my invitation goes to Senator Muthama and his candidate to come on board, and we see we can work together. It's not about who has won, it's not about an individual, it's about the people of Machakos. In fact, we should be concerned about the suffering of the Machakos people, what they've gone through the last 4 years. Remember, Lillian, the current leadership of the county, both the governor and the deputy, they have been into war themselves for the last 4 years. And therefore that seems to have agitated the people of Machakos. And possibly people of Machakos are saying, we are tired of these wars and fights, and we want a team that can deliver for the people of Machakos. And possibly that's why you are seeing all this. And possibly somebody has served as a deputy governor. Remember this. And now he says, for the last 4 years, nothing much done, and he'd want to ascend to become a governor. You know, it's not about positions, it's about service, and it's about delivery. And therefore I'm asking the senator, of course I know he had strong feelings towards a certain candidate, but you know, as Governor Ruto has put it, it's about the public, it's about what people think. And therefore going forward we seem to be really building a lot of stuff around this. And can I tell you, Honorable Wavinya and myself, Peter Mathuki, are looking forward to the 8th of August. Right. And that is to me that is the most important thing.
Mheshimiwa Mbarua, to you, the WIPA fallout, what we're seeing happening within WIPA, the defections, whether this is a sign of deeper issues within NASA. We do know that during the unveiling of the flag bearer, there were persons that were conspicuously absent there, such as, of course, the Machakos senator himself, Johnston Muthama. What are we seeing within NASA? Are there cracks there within? Is this coalition coming in together for the sole purpose of winning the presidency? Are there deeper issues within NASA?
No, certainly from an outside point of view, we see there are obvious cracks within NASA. And I remember one advert which said that you see one cockroach, know that there are many more hiding. What is happening from Johnston Muthama's actions shows that there's much more happening within the WIPA party. Secondly, the strength of a building depends on the foundation. The foundation of NASA is the 5 constituent parties, WIPA being one of them. So if WIPA becomes weak, NASA is going to be weakened. And what is happening now in Machakos, from my own assessment, is that Johnston Muthama is feeling jilted. He said he's put a lot in that political party, And before he gets out of the party, he has to get out what he has. So it means that if he holds 90% of what is in that particular party, then there'll be a problem. The party just has to collapse. The other thing is that when we start seeing problems within the coalition, even before they start their campaigns, Kenyans will be skeptical about what type of government they can put into place. They can say that these people are fighting, they don't even have a government. What is going to happen after election, if in the event they win? What is happening is that NASA is offering a scattered and a partitioned government, whereby we don't more than one principles, all moving in different directions. So I think, to us as outsiders, we think there's a big problem within the NASA coalition. Finally, I would like to say that Johnston Muthama could be having a problem of limitation. In my own assessment, he would have liked to be governor himself. Maybe there's something that is stopping him from being governor. Let him come clean. Tell Kenyans, I'm fighting this position because I don't have these skills which I'm required to have to be governor of Machakos County. Otherwise, this idea of saying that if it's A or B, I'm not going to be a candidate, that one does not wash, is actually stinks of dictatorship.
And to you, Governor Ruto, as NASA principals, are you reaching out to ensure that Wiper remains solid, seeing the fallout that we're now seeing, and indeed some of the utterances? It has been said previously that a section of Ukambani leaders feel that Kalonzo Musyoka was shortchanged when he took on the position of deputy to Raila Odinga. As NASA principals, has this matter been brought to your attention?
There is no problem within NASA, actually. There is no issue on the table for the principals even to discuss. We have no problems, and the Wiper is not under any threat at all. It was just some little disagreement in Machakos between just two people. That is the Wavinya Ndeti group and Muthama. There is no serious issue. If anything, where is the dictatorship there? It is the people who are doing the nominations. No, Wiper did not say, let there be nominations. The party leader of Wiper did not push any specific candidate. It is the people who made up their minds and said it is Wavinya Ndeti and the running mate that are on course for now. And Muthama really shouldn't get annoyed on that basis and say he's therefore not contested, unless there is something much more he hasn't told us. But I want to tell you that that does not in any way, in my view, have any serious issues on Wiper. The point here is that Muthama should just come back and stay with the brothers and continue with the work that he himself has been vehemently in defense of. Otherwise, I see no big issue. I don't even know why we are discussing specifically about Muthama's issues. Yet there are worse problems in Jubilee. The biggest messes have been reported in that particular party, but not even in Wiper. Wiper have done their job.
Although the RGB is also looking at some of these cracks within NASA and possibly looking at inroads for them in areas where these issues are directly affecting the electorate.
But there is no problem in NASA. We are talking about only one issue about nominations in Machakos. There are so many problems of nominations in other parties, particularly Jubilee. There are very serious issues even in Nakuru. You see governors even in Kiambu. There are so many complaints all over the place, and therefore I see no issue about just one case in Machakos. And in fact, it is not even a NASA. It does not threaten NASA in any way, because even Muthama himself has said he's going on to campaign for NASA. So where is the problem in NASA? Why are you trying to create something that does not exist? Muthama has not said he's quitting NASA. He says he's in NASA and he's going to support the presidency. And the presidency includes Kalonzo Musyoka.
Yes. To you, Peter Mathuki, have you reached out to Muthama. Yesterday he said that a large chunk of Makueni, of the Makueni electorate, and indeed of leaders there, could possibly defect from Wiper as well, due to what he called bungled nominations as well. Have you reached out, you and Wavinya, have you reached out to Muthama just to come to some sort of consensus regarding the issues that he's raised?
My dear sister Lillian, you know, I think we need to tell the public the truth. In Wiper there are no cracks. It is an issue of our good brother, Senator, who feels dissatisfied because, of course, he had his own thinking about a certain candidate in Machakos. And I can tell you for free, no defections, no one has defected from Wiper at all. And if at all you look at even now nominations for Wiper were done, Wiper being a national party, there were no issues whatsoever. They were done peacefully all over the country. Of course, you've seen what happened with other political parties all over everywhere, burning of tires and stuff. In Wiper, no issue whatsoever. In Machakos, in fact, I can only say it is a fear that people did not expect the candidature of Wavinya and myself to be voted that overwhelmingly, and I think that is what is causing all these kind of problems. You said yourself that the party leader of Chap Chap was able to comment about it. Now Senator is commenting about it. It is the people speaking, it is the people talking, and so NASA is strong, Wiper is stronger, and therefore non-defections whatsoever. And nobody, Makueni people are okay. Kivula Kibwana himself joined to Wiper. How would he join a party that is not even there? You even saw the unity of the Ukambani leaders coming together to say they are ready to work together with His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka. How would we then say that people are all coming to a party that is not there? Wiper is strong, and I can tell you in that party I serve as the National Deputy Secretary General, and therefore I can tell you if there are issues, I'll be able to say there are issues. And as the Deputy Secretary General, I can tell you for free, Wiper is strong and no issues whatsoever. In terms of reaching out Senator Muthama, I feel, you know, those are obvious. Whenever people go into a nomination process and they lose, you give them time to heal, and then of course at some point, once they stabilize, they come on board. We welcome everyone on board. We want to work with everyone, including Senator Muthama himself, and he's free to come and join and see how we can guide the process, but not fighting anyone.
As we wind up this conversation, Mheshimiwa Mbarua, is Jubilee likely to take a large chunk of Machakos based on what we are currently seeing within Wiper? We also know that Maendeleo Chap Chap has leaned towards the Jubilee side as well. What are we likely to see as regards Jubilee making inroads within Machakos?
First, I would like to comment on the issue of nominations Machakos, because we cannot assume Muthama is just an ordinary member. He's a senior member within the Wiper party, and he said on air that one of the issues considered before Wavinya Ndeti closed over is that should be governor candidate for Machakos. That's what he said, that you cannot wish it away. So when people talk about interference from the principal Kalonzo himself, there seems to be some basis. On the issue of Jubilee, I think Jubilee is making inroads across the country, all over. And where you scored low, you are going to score higher by a certain percentage. There is going to be certainly much more than 30%, which is going to come to Jubilee from the Ukambani area. And this Muthama issue is just one of the issues that may put Kambas to vote in the right way and vote Jubilee. But we have our own programs, serious programs, deep-rooted programs, and we cannot discuss on air, which we want to use to ensure that we get votes across the country. And one of our strategies to ensure that we don't get less than 40% votes in every county in this country.
Your parting words, Governor Ruto, as we close. Comments here coming in saying rebellion in Ukambani cannot be ignored. Your sentiments as we close.
I really wouldn't want us to overblow what is happening or what just happened as an incident in one particular county. It's not a massive issue, and as my colleague has just mentioned, generally Wiper have done their nominations reasonably well. In fact, I was even surprised that they are able to repeat an election across the county of Machakos in a span of 2 days and still come out clean. That is quite a matter that should be commended on the part of Wiper, and I think all political parties should strive to manage nominations. And I also agree with the position by the Wiper party leader that it is the people who will decide who will become the governor. He never said that it must be Wavinya Ndeti. He actually let the people decide, and they went to decide, and they decided twice. Surely, what else would you have done even if you were in that position? If he had done it differently, then you would have evidence of dictatorship. But if he's taken it to the people, what else should have happened? In fact, dictatorship can be traced elsewhere. Those who are refusing the will of the people are the ones who are dictating. Whatever the people decide on the queue, they are sovereign.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your opinions this morning. We're now crossing over to Parliament, where Stephen Letoo is on standby. We know that Parliament resumed from its recess yesterday, and they've got a busy in-tray. Let's listen in to what is expected this afternoon, or indeed what is likely to shape the day there.
Well, a very good morning to you, Lilian Muli, there in studio. There is a lot happening here in the National Assembly. Remember, yesterday was the convening of a special sitting whereby there was an issue to do with the food prices, and that is skyrocketing. And remember, during the Labour Day celebrations and all that, the President had ordered that Parliament really resumes the sitting and ensure that they put in mechanisms to ensure that food prices are lowered. And so there is a lot happening. The debate on the finance bill, that is one of the key steps in ensuring that the prices of basic commodities is brought down. Remember, there was a budget that was read by Treasury CS Henry Rotich that brought down some of the taxes, but they say that was not enough, and that is happening. And just quickly, there is what we intend to know about what is being discussed inside the House. Remember, there was some quorum hitch in the morning, and the House was really delayed its sittings. And now, just to take us very briefly on that, to show us the issue of finance bill, how is it going to be amended, how it is going to be altered to ensure that the prices of basic commodity is brought down, is one of the committee members in the National Assembly, who is the Lugari Member of Parliament, Ayub Savula, to tell us what are some of these issues that you're going to put in place to ensure that the basic commodities of food prices come down, particularly the issue of the finance bill that is being debated in the House.
Thank you, Leto. The issues we're going to deal with in this finance bill are issues related to tax measures. We need to waive some taxes on importation of basic commodity like sugar and commodities like maize. We need to waive import duty on the maize so that we can reduce the price of maize so that it can be affordable to the common mwananchi. The area of sugar, we need to remove the 100% import duty. We suspend for some time the 100% import duty on sugar from non-COMESA countries, mainly because the COMESA countries did not produce enough sugar. Taking example, Kenya is a COMESA country. The main sugar producer is Mumias Sugar Company that has been producing 60% of sugar production in this country. But you see the problem bedeviling Mumias Sugar, ranging from mismanagement, corruption, and lack of care, have made Mumias not to meet the obligation of producing the 60% sugar to meet the local consumption. Well,
just to cut you short, once this bill is passed, we understand there is a supplementary budget that is coming up in the House probably tomorrow. How fast or how early are Kenyans then expecting the commodity of food prices to go down according to the parliamentary timetable?
This is a matter of life and death, and is an urgent issue. Once we deal with the finance bill, the supplementary budget is coming tomorrow. Once we deal with the supplementary budget, the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury will move very fast to implement the measures that Parliament will have taken to ensure that the taxes on the imported maize that is coming in, from outside the country, are implemented immediately by Kenya Revenue Authority, so that millers can have enough supply of maize to mill and supply to the local market because of the urgency.
Thank you. That is Lugari Member of Parliament Ayub Savula. Lilian, we are going to keep an eye on the supplementary budget and see what Treasury is requesting in terms of curbing the shortage of or some of, we are told, this issue of maize, the issue of sugar, and see how government through the Treasury is intending to lower these tax measures both on the sugar importing countries and all that, to see just what exactly has been put there in that supplementary budget. We understand that the Finance Committee is really on burning its midnight oil to ensure that it brings all the amendments from members of the National Assembly and factor them in ahead of tomorrow's sittings. Lillian.
Stephen Leto there in Parliament. We are taking a very short break now, after which we come back with the U.S. cutting back $2 billion health support over graft. Claims the country is facing a $5 billion health scandal. The U.S. government has suspended financial support worth nearly $2.1 billion to the Ministry of Health due to corruption. We're coming back with that very shortly. Stay tuned.